Hi. So I've been requested, it was kind of funny, on Friday I was sitting here thinking, okay, I don't have much to do, and I got a telephone call from an artisan who requested me to do 2 different samples for her if I would. One in a black polished Venetian plaster and another one in a white polished Venetian plaster. So I thought I would share with you making the black, and I don't know that I can share making the white, but I'll share with you making the black today. So I'm going to start with a quartz primer, which is always what you want to start with when you're doing lime plasters. And then I'm going to use Mioted today, and I'm going to use their Marmerino Palladino. So I'm just scooping up enough to put on the sample, which this is already more than what is needed, and I'm going to tint it black. And I want to show you something. I was really pleased by this. So you can see I have just a little bit of plaster, and Mioted sent me some of the black tint for tinting their plasters. Lots of times when we're tinting black plaster, we get a faded gray plaster, or a faded black, sometimes I like to call it, where this is truly black. So you can see I'm using a teaspoon here, and I don't even think I need all of it, but I'm going to just take a teaspoon into what I would say is probably like 3/4 of a cup of plaster. And you're going to see it gets black real quick. Maybe I need just a little bit more black. I'm not sure how this is going to dry out. The sample I made prior to recording this, the black dried out really, really black, and that's what I want. And of course, if we were making this for you and you were selling this sample, everything will be measured exactly so that you have a proof as to what the wall should look like, and we would also have the ability to be able to tint all your plasters for you. There's a lot of people out there teaching polished plasters now called Grassello, I believe is what they call it, and they don't tint any colors for you. So you get absolutely no color whatsoever. You have to do all the tinting when you get it. I will in turn do all the tinting for you. So if you have a particular color that you want, you can just let me know and we'll match the color. Benjamin Moore, Sherwin-Williams, and make the color plaster for you. So what we have here is a sample how we're going to do the wall. And what I first have on here is quartz primer. Now this is a very thick board that I have cut at Home Depot for the lime plasters, because you can't put the lime plasters on just the plastic styrene sheets because it'll pop right off. So you have to have it on a sheet that doesn't bend, so is not so flexible. Okay, now I always use 2 different trowels. I have one trowel that I keep for the polishing plasters, and I have another trowel that I use for putting textures down. This has a little bit of grit in it because it's a Marmerino. All right, so this is my texture trowel. I've got Marmerino on here, tinted black, that you've seen me tint. And now I'm going to put it down as my first coat. So you can see it covers nicely. This is one coat of Marmerino. And what this does is this takes your wall to a level 5. So if there's any divots or anything like that in the wall, you'll be able to hide them with this first layer. So the trick here is to get this down as smooth as possible. You don't need to put a lot of material. You just need to cover your surface and get it smooth. So now that my surface is covered, I'm going to clean the edge of my trowel, and I'm just going to come through here and just lay this down. Take off any excess. This takes a while to dry, so you got plenty of time to play with it. Okay, now we'll wait for this to dry and we'll move on to our second step. So now the first coat of Marmerino is dry, and I'm going to now apply the Grassello, or the glass-like Venetian plaster, or the polishing Venetian plaster, all kinds of different names that you have for it. The first thing I want to do to this is I just want to lightly sand it. And while I'm at it, I'm just going to go ahead and sand the edges in case there's any stacked up of material from when I put the first coat of Marmerino down. Okay, then I want to dust it. Okay, and now I'm going to apply my first coat of Grassello. And this is black Grassello. This happens to be Dimensions Grassello. I'm going to load my trowel. And I'm going to apply my first coat of Grassello. Nice and smooth. Get some more. Now this particular Grassello that we're using will cover 5-gallon bucket, which is 22 kilos, will cover 975 to 1,500 square feet. You will not find another Grassello on the marketplace that will cover as much as this Grassello does. Okay, so we got our second coat on now, and we're going to allow this to dry. Okay, so now we're going to apply the second coat of the Grassello. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to kind of clean up the edges here a little bit so I don't pull any of this dried material. Okay, now this is not completely dry. This is what we refer to as being in love, okay? And what in love is the plaster's not wet, the plaster's not dry, and it won't leave a fingerprint behind. So you can see here where it's drying. You can see here that it's still wet, but you see it doesn't leave a fingerprint behind. But it's not dry. This is termed in love. When the plaster is in love, you can add another layer to it, or you can wait till it's completely dry. It's up to you which way you want to go. Right now, because we're filming this and the plaster is in love, I'm going to take it from here. Now, what I'm also going to do at this point, because the plaster is in love, I'm going to use my burnishing, my good trowel for polishing plasters, and I'm just going to come across here and I'm going to feel any little thing that still might be a high ridge, and I'm going to take it off as I'm coming across. And as you can see, I'm already starting to burnish it. That's how easy this Grassello is to burnish. Okay, so I just want to make sure everything is laid down nice. I didn't pull any material off. And now I'm getting ready to apply my next coat. So I'm going to load it, not with as much material as I did the first coat. Okay, and now I'm going to start to apply it. So I'm going to pull it out from the corner. And as I'm applying it, I'm burnishing it, I'm pushing it, I'm compressing it. All kinds of different words that you've heard people use: compress, push, burnish. I'm pushing this layer of Grassello into the first layer, compressing it tightly into it. Which happens, as I'm doing that, we'll start to burnish the product. Okay, so now I've basically have melted the second layer of Grassello into the first layer of Grassello. Okay, and you can see I didn't use much material at all. Okay, I'm going to clean my trowel. Black is so much fun to work with. Kidding. Okay. Got my trowel clean, and now I'm going to do the very same thing. This is what we would term as being in love, because you can see it's not leaving a fingerprint behind. It's not dry. It's still wet. Okay, but it's not right there left a fingerprint. So I'm going to leave. I'm not going to touch that for just a second. But this up here is leaving no fingerprint behind. Okay, so we're just going to come now and we're going to start to burnish this. And you're going to see how fast and easy this will burnish into a beautiful black plaster. Keep your trowel clean. You'll know when you've picked something up, you'll feel it. And then if you don't take care of it, you can have a little problem like that. Okay. Oh, I just scratched it bad. There we go. That's what happens when you don't keep your trowel clean. Okay, so we've put coat 2 down of the black Grassello, and it's almost dry. Okay, it's dry to the touch, but it's still in that in love period where it's not completely dry. And now I'm going to bring in coat 3 of the black Grassello. So I'm just going to put it down. It takes way less material than any of the other coats. Each coat takes less material. And I'm just going to put this down for our coat 3. And then we're going to give it just a minute, and I'm actually going to start to burnish it. Okay, so this is layer 3 of the Grassello. It's actually layer 4 on the wall. The first was the Palladino, and then 3 layers of the black Grassello, and now we're going to burnish it. So you want to make sure your trowel is nice and clean and that it's not going to scratch anything. You make sure that all of the stuff is off the edge of it. Okay, and I'm going to show you something. All you got to do is this light touch, and you see how it starts to burnish? I mean, I'm telling you, this is, look at my hand and how easily I'm holding this, and I just touch it and you see how it's going to burnish. That's why I call this a lady's plaster, is because we're not going to break our shoulders burnishing this. Okay, we're just going to get it to a nice polish. So I'm still watching my trowel as I burnish it to make sure that I keep any material off that might be coming up. But you can see how nice and easy this is without actually doing any pushing on it. Okay. To finalize this with putting on 3 coats of Palladino and then 3 coats of Grassello and then burnishing it at the end, and I actually used a buffer on a Makita drill. I used a lamb's wool buffer and did the final buff on the product to give it that beautiful shine that you see. This product that we've used to do this, we used Mioted Palladino, Marmerino Palladino for the base coat that gave us a nice level surface to work with. And then we used 3 coats of Dimensions Grassello tinted black to come up to the final. Now the last thing that you can do if you want is you can put a coat of wax over the top of it. And if I was going to put a coat of wax over the top of it, I would put a drop of black pigment into the wax, stir it up really well, and then put that black wax over the top of it just to give it that last little depth of color. This will become one of our standards that we'll have in most all of our classes from this point forward. So if you want more information, give me a call. I'm here to help you any way that I can, and I hope you enjoy your Grassello.